Time to start putting all of our hard work to good use, starting with shy and fearful dogs that merit a 2-star placement. First, take your time, check in with yourself, talk softly if you have to talk at all. A lot of times as humans, we like to communicate with the dogs as though they can talk back to us. It's a really normal thing. There's nothing wrong with it. But I would caution you for an animal who's stressed and fearful, when you're speaking to them, you're probably just adding a lot of confusing noise, and saying less can be really, really calming for these animals. Be aware of your own body posture, whether you're a tall person, a small person, anywhere in between, you can be intimidating to a dog. Avoid leaning over them, turn to your side, offer your shoulder instead of your full-on chest. Move slowly and bring your hand kind of from underneath their face rather than over their face. I think it's also helpful if you move your hands when they can see you moving as well, rather than kind of doing things behind them. You can blink, do a big yawn, look away, kind of dramatically look away, really make it clear that you're not holding eye contact with them. All of these things can be calming signals to dogs. When I say check yourself before you wreck yourself, these are a couple of questions you can ask. I had a private client once who, longer story made shorter, we ended up making a checklist for her of like pre and post walk. And pre-walk was things like, have you had a snack? Have you had a drink of water? Have you gone to the bathroom? And post-walk was like, where do you feel stress in your body? Name 3 things that went well. Do you need a snack? Do you need to sit down? All of those things. But truly, like, take your time. You don't need to rush through dogs when you're at the shelter, whether you're working here or doing a volunteer shift. Check if you need a snack, if you're thirsty, if you're hungry, anything you need. What's going on with your nervous system? Are you going into this interaction already stressed? And if so, are there some like breathing techniques that you can do? Everybody has a different experience with like therapy and wellness, so I'm going to really leave that up to you. But essentially, try to be aware of like the baggage that you're carrying into the session. And remember, it's really not personal. If a dog is fearful, it really very likely does not have anything to do with you specifically. There's so much going on for this animal. They're in a really unstable time in their life. If they say no, thank you, just trust them. And remember that if we back off here, where we're seeing slight signs of tension, we see a little bit of muzzle puckering, a little whale eye, leaning kind of back, the ears are out into the sides. We can avoid pushing the dog to do this. We don't want them to practice this. It's also not a fun place for this dog to be. Keep in mind too that the dog may feel safest inside their kennel, and this can be a tough lesson to learn for a lot of folks because we want to get them out. We want to get them out and about, sniffing. In our human brains, that's what dogs are supposed to do. But sometimes, especially at the beginning of a shelter stay, the dog really doesn't understand where they are, who you are, their routine, and they are not super pumped about leaving the only space where they feel a modicum of safety. So if they're telling you they don't want to leave their kennel, don't take them out of their kennel. You can always tell a staff person and we can, help you if it's appropriate, but sometimes it's best to just let them be. Preference testing is important for everybody, but especially for shy and fearful dogs, we often need to bring out the bigger guns with our treats when we're working with them. So not one biscuit is created equal. A lot of times, stinkier snacks, lickable snacks, soft versus hard snacks, these are all things that we can take into account when we're preference testing. We need to know what they like so that we can make sure that we're pairing our presents with stuff that they like. Can take a little bit of trial and evaluation. Sometimes we're so scary that the dog will wait until we leave to even investigate the snacks we're bringing, and that's okay. That's data. That's good to know. But again, take a little time before you're like really diving deep into working with a guide, trying to build trust by testing out different kinds of snacks that they might like. In a perfect world, I've already done this for you by the time they become 2-star, but things move really fast at the shelter, and sometimes I will add them to the shelter volunteer walk list because it's in their best interest to start getting um more exposure to people and have you guys help me with preference testing to find out what they like the most. Do not worry about our shelter dogs getting fat. It's it's not that it doesn't matter, but honestly, like there's so much going on for them. They can be a little bit fat right now. It's okay. If they have tummy troubles, we can address them. We'll take it one step at a time. But for right now, let's just try to find something that helps them feel comfort. A little bit about training. We're not going to go into like deep dive training, and I certainly don't expect anybody to be like a behavior consultant at the end of this session. But I do want you to have some of the basic concepts down because these are things that are happening with the dog you're handling, whether you're aware of it or not. So, a famous animal trainer, Bob Bailey, always says Pavlov is always on your shoulder. Pavlov is the guy that did the experiment with the bell ringing, and then he would offer meat powder to the dogs in his lab after the bell rang. And after a few repetitions of that, the dogs started to salivate when they heard the bell ring, even when the food wasn't there. So essentially, the value of that reinforcer, that food, translated to the bell ringing, and the bell made the animal have that similar emotional and like physiological response. So that's classical conditioning where we pair two things, and over time, the first thing takes on the power of the second thing. You'll hear me say stimulus pairing. I try not to use sciencey language, but when I'm stressed and tired, I have a harder time not using sciencey language. So sometimes I'll use words that are harder. Um, But all this means is that you want to pair your presence or the presence of whatever the scary stimulus, the scary thing is, with a highly preferred food reward. Remember, we're assuming we've already done a preference test, so we already know what the highly preferred food reward is. Then we do presentation of the scary thing, presentation of the fun thing, and the animal reacts to the fun thing, right? So it's always the scary thing first, then the fun thing. Fun, scary, fun. Order of operations really matters here. If you blend them and you're doing like scary fun, or you're doing fun, scary instead of scary, fun, um, you can mess with the connection that the dog is making in their brain. So if you're um meshing them up, the dog can actually just kind of get confused about like what predicts what and think like, well, every time the scary thing happens, the fun thing happens, and maybe the fun thing isn't really worth the scary thing. Or if you're reverse conditioning it, so you're seeing the fun thing first, then the scary thing, the dog can actually learn that the fun thing predicts the scary thing, and they will decide that they no longer care about the tablespoon of junky wet cat food because they know that the scary thing is going to come right after it and it's just not worth it. So that order of operation super matters, and it's really in our best interest to be aware of how that works. This is well studied, and in particular, there was a cool study done about 10 years ago in shelter dogs that showed that just walking down the line of a kennel, and of course MHS doesn't really have that set up, but if you imagine like the traditional kennel setup where there's just like kennel after kennel after kennel after kennel in a line, walking down the row and just tossing food in the kennels, regardless of what the dog did, whether they were barking at you, ignoring you, whatever, led to more desirable as defined by adopters behaviors that the shelter dogs would offer to people. So there's really like no like capital T training there. It's just a super easy, like anybody can take 2 minutes and toss food in a kennel and help to change behavior in a really powerful way. So the key is with this kind of approach that access to food or access to whatever the fun thing is does not depend on what the dog does or doesn't do. We're not manipulating behavior at all. We're just trying to show the dog that this thing, this person, this vacuum cleaner, this nail clipper, whatever the scary thing is, predicts that the fun thing is coming next. We're not waiting for them to do a behavior. We're not worrying about what behavior they're doing in the middle. It's just that stimulus one, stimulus two. And this is a good example of operations, order of operations. You guys have seen my dog a lot before, but just to prep you, so Gussie, sorry, I just realized that my like super nerdy chore organizer spreadsheet is up here. Hold on one second. Okay, that's how I stay on track of my chores at home. Anyway, Gussie gets injections periodically for some pain, and he has a cooperative behavior that we learned together where he puts all four paws on a station and he stands still. He receives the injection and then he gets peanut butter. And if you watch him, just watch it really quick first. It's a short video, so you can see what that looks like. I'm gonna have you watch it again and just look at the drool bubble, the saliva like line that starts when he sees not the peanut butter spoon, but the syringe. You can see it now. So after lots of repetitions and a lot of other things going into this, it's not as easy as it looks, but he's learned that the sight of that syringe predicts a glob of peanut butter. And he's more than happy to sit still while the syringe does its thing and then get the peanut butter. That's in addition to like cooperative care training and a bunch of other kind of more advanced stuff, that is classical conditioning. That is stimulus pairing. So that video is also, like I just mentioned, it's a glimpse into what cooperative care can look like. At a high level, cooperative care is that the animal is participating in the procedure that you're doing. For vet care, it can look like the dog goes to a station when they are ready for the vet to touch them. I've seen this work with marine mammals where a beluga whale can be trained to like flop over on their back in the water and offer a fin for a blood draw. It's really, really cool. And we're not going to do that kind of like intense stuff at the shelter. But we can still build consent into our interactions with animals, especially our guys that are showing us some shy and fearful behaviors. So when we get to a point where the shy and fearful dog is reliably eating food in front of us, and that might be on day one, or that might have taken a couple of days of work to get up to, we can start to teach them that they actually have some control over their environment. So I'll show you a couple of games that we can play that are set up so that the animal can start and stop the interaction and can tell you with their body language how comfortable they are. The first one is treat retreat. I've learned versions of this from a few different organizations. Probably every trainer has some version of this game. The way that I found it to be most useful is you can play it, in free contact, in partial contact, in protected contact. I'm playing in protected contact in this video mostly just as an example of what that can look like, not because this dog necessarily needs to be in protected contact. But with treat and retreat, you toss the preferred food between the front paws of the dog, wherever they're standing in the room, as close as you can. Let them eat it. Toss the second treat behind the dog. That encourages them to move away from you and go find the treat. Let them eat the treat. Let them decide where they want to reset their position, and then toss the next treat to the dog's front feet. And then you repeat backwards to the front feet, backwards to the front feet. I think in this video I go side to side a couple of times too, but the overall point is that we're not luring the dog to us. We're teaching them over time that it is cool with us if they want to move away from us, and it is cool with us if they want to tell us how close they want to be. Right to his front feet. I did another to his front feet. He is showing that he's pretty comfortable there. Behind him. Foot. Another front foot. You'll see I do a couple of feeds to other dogs in a row because they're all being very good. You can see he's gradually moving closer to me. I'm not asking him to, I'm not luring him with food. He's doing that on his own. This is another example of treat and retreat, kind of. It's a little bit messier. I wasn't really doing this video with the intent of filming a treat and retreat example, but you can still see it's another example of the dog not being lured to me, having every opportunity to move around in the space. And he actually has a second opportunity for reinforcement right here. So there's a little lick mat right here that he can go and choose to engage with instead of engaging with me. So that's that sort of like added support where I'm not forcing him to interact with me. I'm definitely not forcing him to come close to me, but I'm actually not even forcing him to interact with me. He can interact with that mat instead if he prefers. And the site is a little northeast of the first one. This video is a good reminder too that you are never the only stimulus present, right? Like there's all kinds of noise that's caught on the camera. We don't even really have a full scope into what his internal experience is and like everything that's impacting him, whether the dog barking or that like screeching mechanical sound that happens, whether those things are particularly fear-inducing for him. So we have some control over what we're doing, but we don't always really know the full picture for them and what their experience looks like. Pet Pet Pause is a game that you can play with a shy, fearful dog who's maybe approaching you, but not quite sure how close they want to be to you. And this is an easy game. All you do is pet the dog twice, one slow pet, two slow pets. Let them tell you with their body language if they want to be touched again. So that was a little appeasement kiss and a big yawn. And I'm going to take that as a sign that he does not want to be touched right now. And that's okay. We can give him something else to do. All of this stuff kind of built into a broad topic of confidence building. So rather than teach the animal specific skills, we're trying to teach them that they can make choices in their environment and that they will get reinforced when they make choices. And particularly, we want to set them up to make good choices. We can't reasonably control every aspect of a shy and fearful dog's life, but we can think through the beginning to end of our session. So what path are we going to take to get them from their kennel to their space where we're going to interact with them? Are there environmental triggers that we can avoid or minimize? Can we minimize visual access to certain things? What preferences do we know they have? And then what's our plan for bringing the dog back to their space? So along the path, think through what we can avoid or mitigate. If we've got a dog in the lobby, can we close the homeroom top doors before we bring that dog through the lobby to just minimize the noise and visual stimuli of other dogs barking that that dog might be exposed to? Can we block their view of cats and small animals? Is the break room a better option versus the police entrance versus the lobby? There's not really a single answer. It's always going to depend on the context. And then maybe it would even be helpful to grab a buddy to just kind of like help navigate around a crowded area, check a corner before you go through it, that kind of thing. The other piece we can do is actually like make the environment more repetitive. So rather than simply taking things away that are scary, we can actually increase cool stuff in the environment. We can add snacks. We can make sure that our walk outside includes a path by the laundry bins. The laundry bins were always really fun to sniff. So be creative on both sides. We've already talked a little bit about preferences, but just circling back once again, all snacks are not created equal, and the bigger the feelings, the bigger the guns. I like this example because I'm not just saying that like pizza is cool and grapefruit sucks. Like that's not what I'm saying at all. I like fruit in a lot of situations. For me, I do not like grapefruit. There's never a situation where I enjoy eating grapefruit. I don't like grapefruit juice. I don't like grapefruit flavored stuff. I am not a grapefruit fan. I do like pizza, and there are times when I don't want pizza. So even if we're going for like the most appetitive thing or the thing that we think is the most appetitive thing, the context matters. If it's 100 degrees outside and I just ran a marathon, I might just want water, right? I might not want to eat a whole pizza right now. Maybe I do. I don't know. But we have to be thoughtful about that individual's context and that individual's experience and have in mind not just like their favorite snack, but also like what kinds of snacks might work in different scenarios for that individual. Okay, so let's assume we've gotten the dog out of their kennel, we've gotten them safely and securely through the building, and now we were in a yard space or in the visiting room or whatever we're gonna do. What do you actually do with the dog, right? So, um, you can take them on a walk for sure. Walks are awesome. And I just recommend that for shy and fearful guys, know the path well and also know what your options and alternatives are. Let the dog kind of choose the path that they want to take. And if you notice that they're getting fearful, stressed, anxious, see if it helps to just turn in a different direction. We don't always know what spooks them, but this does happen from time to time where a dog will kind of like stiffen up partway through a walk and just be like, I don't want to go that way. I want to go another way. I don't know why, but we can just honor that choice in the moment. If you're spending time in Fenway Park or one of the community public yards or a visiting room or something, you can set up the space first with some items that will set up the animal to make confident and reinforceable choices. So this dog in this example is not necessarily like of the shy, fearful stripe, but I wanted to show you just a little bit of an insight into what the yard space can look like. We won't watch this whole video, and there will be little what do you call it? Captions that come up because this video was used for training purposes for another context. So sorry about that. But we'll just watch a little bit of it. So Gravy has his blanket here that he can use for relaxation practice. He's got balls of multiple type and shape and size. Slow feeders right here, these have food in them. So throughout the session, he can choose to interact with me and get food, or he can get food from the environment. Encouraging that foraging behavior is a great way to help build confidence and lower arousal levels. We've also got a couple of different kinds of toys, and there's even stuff out of frame. With our scared babies, there are some training games that we can choose to play. And before we get too deep into this, I want to stress that like you don't have to do training with any of these dogs. You can take them on walks, you can just play with them in the yard. This overview is designed to give you some tools in your toolbox that you can kind of revisit over time. You'll you'll metabolize a little bit of it now, and then you'll forget a lot of it. Come back to it in a few months, look at it again, you'll see new things, and stuff will make sense. But this is like just so you can see lots of different things, and also so you'll know more or less what I'm talking about. If I mention like play the Touch the Goblin game, you'll know what I'm talking about. So Touch the Goblin is actually developed for horses by a trainer named Alexander Kurland. I learned it from Dr. Spalding in graduate school. And she actually terms it, and I kind of like this. I like the sound of Touch the Goblin better, but the meaning of Investigate the Goblin is more appropriate. So the point isn't for the animal to touch a scary thing. The point is for the animal to make brave choices and move away calmly from the scary thing. So in this picture here, this seal statue is the goblin, and this is my brave little guy standing next to the goblin. I don't need him to be best friends with the goblin. I just want him to be able to exist in a world where goblins exist. For best results, this game really needs the goblin to be predictable. So we're thinking about like a statue, a parked car with no one in it. If it's something like that that the animal is fearful of, this can be a great game to play. We don't want any unexpected or uncontrolled movements, sounds, etc. from the goblin. We want to be able to control the scenario for that animal so that we're not surprising them. This is an adapted form of Touch the Goblin. It's also sometimes like, this is where all the different protocols really blend together. It's a little bit of look at that. It's a little bit of behavior adjustment training. The point of this video is that Chance, who's this dog, is very scared of this particular person. And this particular person has great body language and behavior skills with dogs. So I was able to give her specific instructions. We also had a great working relationship, so she trusted my handling. And I was able to give her instructions to just stand in the middle of this field. Do not make eye contact with this dog. Do not look at him. Do not talk to him. Just stand there and be non-threatening. And what Chance is going to do is practice walking around in a space where Gina is standing. He can look at her if he wants to. He can move away from her. He can move toward her with calm body language and then move away. You'll see a lot of different things. Go ahead and reinforce him. We're looking at the dog that's walking by in the distance right now.
Yeah.
Like 2026, and you wouldn't have let him get that close. We would have learned.
Can I try like one more password, Gina?
Another game you can play with Shy Fearfuls is 101 Things to Do with the Box. In this game, you take an object, just a non-threatening object. The titular object is a box, and you put it in the space, and then you reinforce by feeding the animal anytime that they interact with the box or the thing in any way. It can be looking at it, touching it, moving away from it. Um, let them surprise you. I am using, in this example, I'm using a clicker, which you may have heard me use in a few of the other sessions before, so that the click noise that I'm doing marks when the dog does the thing that earns reinforcement, whether it's looking at the box, touching it, whatever, and then the food comes after. You don't have to use a clicker, and that's a little bit more advanced. We can talk about that down the road if you're interested in that, but even just like tossing food when they investigate the box can be a great way to help them build confidence and investigate their environment. And for this dog, I'm also reinforcing other choices she makes, like offering a sit, touching her nose to my hand. And you can see she also has other stuff in the environment that she can choose to play with. She's got toys, she's got a snuffle mat. Right now, she's more interested in working with me than the box, and that's okay. That's still a confident girl.
Oh, that's really cute.
So those are a few options in addition to walks and just gentle playtime. When we are getting ready to bring the dog back to their kennel, keep in mind that like the plan that got them out of the kennel might not actually just reverse perfectly. We might need to adjust that plan. We might not be able to do that for various reasons, if the lobby's too crowded or something. So assess FAS again as you are picking up the leash, getting ready to move back. Think through what options might work best for you and what support you might need. That might include having a person come out and help you. If the dog says no, thank you, we talked about this a little bit already, but if they say no, thank you to anything that you're doing with them, let's say you've already got them out in the yard and then they just kind of nope out of the game you want to play, that's not a big deal. Let them choose the activity that they want to play and let them be. When it's time to get them into the kennel, if they are avoiding you and it's difficult to like pick up their leash and bring them back in, then definitely call for staff so that we can help you get the animal back into their kennel. If they nope out of like leaving the kennel with you altogether, that is totally cool. You are building trust in the long run that you are a person who is not going to force this animal to do something they're not ready to do. And that actually builds the likelihood that they will want to spend time with you in the future. So check with staff in those cases. You might be able to offer them some in-kennel enrichment so that you can still give them some support. Um, but that support just might not look like what you thought it was going to look like, and that's okay. Red flags for shy and fearful dogs that might merit a reassessment of levels include growling. We're noticing lots of dilated pupils and direct eye contact. I would say holding eye contact for 2 or more seconds is a sign that you might want to have staff reassess. If they are unable to control their bowels in your presence or in the presence of a trigger, that's something you want to let staff know. And if they're freezing, not just with eye contact, but just like their body freezes for more than 2 seconds at a time, let us know. Doesn't necessarily mean that the dog is like bad. I mean, none of them are bad. It just means that we might have some shifts in the supports that we need to offer that dog that we weren't aware of until you told us. So again, that communication going both ways is really critical. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we will work on jumpy, mouthy dogs.